Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Brilliantly Resilient Live. I'm Kristen Smedley here with my partner in crime, Mary Fran Bontempo, and we are bringing you one of my newest friends from one of my newest pastimes. That's where we hooked up over the weekend. And for those of you that can't see Mary Fran's lovely face right now, she is shaking her head and wants to roll her eyes because, ladies and gentlemen, I have found yet another social media platform to drag Mary Fran too.
Yay.
And I even forced her to get a brand new phone because if you are not on Clubhouse yet, you got to get in the Clubhouse. She did get a new phone. We do not have the old one that was sending smoke signals
Smoke
across
signals
Public County, Pennsylvania anymore. Mary Fran is in the new generation of phones to be hanging out on Clubhouse, where I met our new friend, McKenna Reitz. Thank you so much for joining us today. And we are just going to dive right in. I really want to just talk all about Clubhouse.
Oh, I do too.
But we
It's amazing.
can't.
It connected me with you and you both beautiful ladies. And so wow, it is a game changer. The connections that are being made on Clubhouse.
Yes, it's
unreal.
It's unbelievable. So McKenna comes to us. All I'm going to let you all know, and then we're going to dive into her story and all the great stuff she has going on. And I'm actually going to look down at this list to read it all to you because all of y'all that say, Kristen, are there 3 of you? No, but there must be 7 McKennas doing the jobs that she does. Mom, speaker, podcast host, teacher. She's actually coming to you live from her classroom. Varsity volleyball coach, and married to a college volleyball coach. If your head is exploding over what their calendar must look like, welcome to our episode today. McKenna, let's dive in. So now this is funny because I didn't realize that you had the teacher thing going on, and Mary Fran and I were both teachers for a while and then have, moved into all these other things. So my question always is, were you the wackadoodle like I was? Did you know you wanted to teach your whole life like I did?
I did.
You?
I did. My mom was a teacher and a phenomenal teacher. She was Gifted and Talented Teacher of the Year for the state of Ohio in 1999. I saw the impact that she had on her students and the letters, I was going to say emails. She definitely didn't get emails then. The letters that she received from her students that just told her how much, as an 8th grade teacher, she impacted, inspired them. And then my own 4th grade teacher had a significant impact on me. I had trouble reading and hearing low sounds and writing, and she worked with me every single day and just, helped me into my own. And so then I always thought I wanted to be a 4th grade teacher. Boy, was I wrong. I teach juniors and seniors in high school, but I went into college knowing that this is what I wanted to do and what I want to be. And so, it made it a little bit, you can hear the bells. It made it a little bit easier in that route. But yeah, it's a rewarding and right now a very challenging time to be a teacher.
Okay, so teacher, but also speaker, podcast host. Where does all of that come in? How did this all evolve like this?
In all honesty, I was a college athlete. I love, I played college volleyball. I have that athletic mindset. I love inspiring and motivating others. And so being in the classroom as I love, and I'm also a varsity volleyball coach. And, when I started to go through my life challenge, which I know we'll talk about in just a little bit, but it really empowered me and it truly gave me my purpose of what I want to do. And I want to inspire and empower as many people as possible to turn their life challenges into gifts and opportunities. And the more I can do it, and the more I can get my story out and help others, just get a new perspective on life, then, I'm doing my purpose and doing what I want to be doing in my life.
I love what you just said about turning challenges into gifts and opportunities. And Kristen and I talk about that all the time, because if you don't take your personal challenges and make something else out of them, then you're just kind of sitting in your yuck.
Exactly.
And that's just not a good place to be. So when we talk about being brilliantly resilient, we talk about those 3 kind of steps, like the reset, which involves the sucker punch or the train wreck. And then we talk about the rise and the reveal of your brilliance, but we need to start with the sucker punch. So where did your reset begin?
In November of 2015, I lost all of my hair. Within about 4 weeks, 90% of it was gone due to an autoimmune disease called alopecia. And what it does is it attacks your hair follicles and just does not, and it just causes it to fall out. Now, some people with alopecia might still have living hair follicles, but it's just not allowing it to grow. And there's 3 different types. There's areata, which is just where you have spots on your head of bald spots. There's totalis, which is your loss of entire hair on your head. And then there's universalis, which is losing all of your body hair. And that's what I have. So I don't have eyebrows, eyelashes, nose hairs, nothing. So I am microbladed. It has taken me 3 years to perfect putting on fake eyelashes. But, that was the most difficult challenge of my life. And, I remember standing in the shower and I'd just be standing there with my hands being covered with hair. And I felt that my identity was literally being ripped away from me. Since literally kindergarten, everyone knew me for my hair. I had thick, beautiful hair. Like literally everyone knew me for my hair. And then strand by strand, as it's coming out, my identity was being torn away from me piece by piece by piece. And it was what you said. It was that sucker punch. My mom said, God gives the strong people the toughest challenges. And I want to be like, the whole, why me? Why does it have to be me? Why do I have to go through this? Praying that I'd wake up and my, this dream, this nightmare would be over, my hair would be back. Or on the vice versa, I would wake up and be like, okay, you know what? It's changed and I can move on. But in retrospect, everything happens for a reason. We go along our journeys and experience different things mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, in order to get to the spot I am now, or to the spot that, you will be. And so you have to be patient with your journey, which is not my middle name. I am not very patient, hence why I teach juniors and seniors and not 4th graders. But, and then I started to focus on, okay, how are we going to get my hair back? I'm a problem solver. We have to solve this problem. I went to dermatologist, went up to University of Michigan because I live really close, and did every topical cream, women's Rogaine, different types of medicines that completely compromised my immune system, made me really sick, and to holistic, weekly injections into my scalp of steroids for 6 months. And it was a battle. It was a battle more mentally and emotionally than it was physically, because I couldn't look at myself in the mirror. I couldn't, it was a difficult time. But I remember my mom always saying, how do you get out of bed every day? I said, there's no other choice. Mm-hmm. There's no other choice. I have 2 young daughters at the time. I had a 4-month-old, 3-year-old, 2 daughters who are watching every step.
Yep.
And I had to be strong for them. Now, that's not saying that I didn't go lay in bed and cry my eyes out, but I did it away from them. And we have to understand that life's going to throw you challenges. You're going to be punched in the face. You're going to be weak, but realizing and noticing and recognizing that weakness is actually what makes you strong. Because it allows you to have this new perspective. And they are the reasons why I woke up every single day and I got out of bed every day. I never questioned, I don't want to go to bed. Do I have to go to work today? Do I have to get out of bed? No, I just did it because I had a family to take care of. I have students who relied on me. I have daughters who are looking at me. And my biggest fear is what happens if it happens to them, because it can be genetic. And I want them to know that they have a badass mom that got through it, and so can they.
So did you go through any of you said you went through the topical creams and all that stuff. Did you do the wigs, the hats? Because I have some people that have gone through this also.
Yeah. So it started to recede back. And so I was wearing a headband here and putting my hair, whatever was left, into a ponytail, and putting microfibers and makeup and everything, cover up the bald spots. And I remember I'm looking at the spot, standing in front of my students, and it was the best thing I did. And I said, hey guys, my hair's falling out. I'm going to start to look different. We don't know why. But being transparent and vulnerable in that moment gave me some freedom for the next month, 6 months, year, whatever it was. But I wasn't 100% hiding. And they were responsive. I mean, they were just amazing. They were so supportive. But I refused to get a wig because I felt that in short term, in those next couple months, if I got a wig, I was accepting it. I was accepting that I failed to grow my hair back. I was accepting that my hair was gone. And so when I finally shaved my head at the end of November of the last few strands that were there, I was literally I didn't want to wear a scarf because I felt a scarf resembled that I had cancer, which a lot of people believe that I did. So I just wore almost kind of like a survivor buff, and where I just literally covered my head And then I did that until March, until spring break. And finally, my mom and I went to a wig shop and I bought a wig. I put it up into a ponytail. I put a headband on and I felt somewhat normal. And a lot of my students, when I came back, I wore a wig and they thought my hair grew back. I'm like, yes, it did. But it allowed me, it gave me some freedom where I could just walk around and people weren't staring at me. It just kind of gave me some breathing room. And for the next, that was March of 2016. For the next 3.5 years, I wouldn't look at myself in the mirror. I mean, slowly I was able to. I never went out in public with being bald. Always had a wig on or a hat on. Working out, whatnot. Even being in my own household for the next 1.5 to 2 years, I would have a hat on. I couldn't bear my kids looking at me because I couldn't bear myself.
Yeah.
And, when being up at our lake house in Michigan, my mom would be like, just take your head off. You're with family. I'm like, I can't, because I emotionally and mentally couldn't. That's where I was on my journey. And they're like, okay, you do what you need to do. And so I did that for a very long time until June 2019, when I went to my first National Alopecia Areata Foundation conference in Seattle. And I walked in with a hat on, and then I'm surrounded by all these baldies. I'm like, I'm not alone. I'm not the woolly mammoth. I'm not the only one that exists. And I said, I want to take it off. I just couldn't. And the next morning I went and worked out. I came back to my hotel room. My mom can come with me. And I said, Mom, I'm doing it. I'm going to walk out of this hotel room. I'm going to go bald. I'm taking my hat off, and she's like, are you sure? I said, yep. If there's no better time, no better place than right here. I'm surrounded by people who finally understand what I'm experiencing, and I will be supported 100%. Not that I wasn't supported at home. I was, but I just had that different connection, and I did it. And it was the scariest thing I've ever experienced in my life. I remember getting on that hotel elevator, being on the 8th floor and just wanting to throw up. And then we hit every damn floor on the way down, and more people got on. I'm like, no, I just wanted to ride down the elevator all by myself, but I haven't turned back. I have not turned back. I have not worn a wig since December of 2019. I'll still wear a hat working out or, just spontaneously or being in the sun and whatnot, but they're itchy, they're hot. But the biggest thing is that I'm at a point in my journey where I love who I am. I can look in the mirror and finally say, I believe in myself. I'm proud of myself. And I finally see beauty. So
that's why I was so drawn to you, because now on Clubhouse, it's a total audio platform. So I was just hearing you and hearing the joy in your journey and the stuff you were, I don't even remember what the topic was. You were just somebody I was so magnetized to go and click on the bio and see you on Instagram. Then you go on your Instagram and you just radiate joy. That's why I was like, we need to know more about this person, because you just have so much confidence and joy. I want everybody to go and look at McKenna's Instagram, because it is just, you would never, looking at your Instagram and hearing you, realize that you went through the struggle with confidence.
Right. And what's funny is that where you've caught me on my journey is at my good spot.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I didn't take a picture of myself bald until September of 2018, where a former student's mom is a photographer and she took pictures of me and I posted. And the best thing is that what we need to do, regardless of what battle you are experiencing, you have to be transparent and you have to be vulnerable, because one, you don't know who you're helping out. Mm-hmm. There's 7.1 million Americans who are affected by alopecia, but there are millions of other people who aren't affected by it. But I want my story to resonate with them, that we are all battling something. We all have a story. And so when I started to become vulnerable and I post about my bad days, I post about my good days. I just happen to have every day is a good day for me now. They just are. I wake up with so much energy that I'm so excited because I have so many goals, because for too long in my life, I was saying, I want to wake up and go up bald. I want to do this. I want to do that. Now I'm saying I am doing it. And so I used my social media platform as therapy for me. So before I went out bald, I was putting pictures of myself bald out there, but I wouldn't go out bald, but it was just a step in the right direction. and I was being transparent about how I was feeling. And a lot of things were therapeutic for me as helping and inspiring people as well. But now, like, this is me, take it or leave it. And I'm proud of me.
Awesome.
It's really, you said so many things that kind of caught me as you were talking about your journey. And one of them was that you gave yourself some breathing room, that you got some breathing room to to kind of process this whole thing. But at the same time, we talk about allowing yourself to feel these things, but at the same time, it almost sounds like you might have gotten stuck in that breathing room place. And at one point had to just go, okay, I got to go for this. And I think maybe everybody, while you can allow yourself that period of time to kind of process things, there is a time for action. And that's one of the things that Kristen and I talk about. Yes, you need to process, you need to experience, but you also have to do something. And Absolutely. You did that. You made that decision.
And I think, especially in my first couple of years of transitioning into my new way of life, my favorite quote now is, the problem isn't the problem is the attitude about the problem. And for far too long, I was so focused on the problem. And I love, especially being women, we love to be in control. We want to have control and we want to solve the problem. And I had to realize is that I was putting so much energy into something that I didn't have control over. Mm-hmm. I was attempting to get my hair back, and I exhausted every possibility, but I wasn't giving up, but there was nothing I could do. And so what I had to stop doing was putting so much energy in that and start focusing on what I do have control over. And that's my attitude and my mindset towards it. And so when I thought that alopecia had taken my identity, when I started to reframe my mindset, I've learned that alopecia has given me my identity.
So you talked about two of the steps in the reset that we talk about all the time, and that is perspective and controlling the controllables.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is that we put so much energy into what we can't control. And like, how many times have my mom going, through my dating life of, you're never gonna be able to change him. Yes, I will. Yes, I will. But you've
never been with me.
Right.
So that is what will make them change.
You don't know who I am. I'm up for the challenge, but that's the thing, it just takes time to learn.
Yeah.
It's experience.
So the reset part, where you get that perspective and then you control the controllables, and then which you automatically did because you clearly have gifts and talents, you went to those to start the rise. So like, how did your skill set, Kristen and I say all the time that the skills that we had as teachers, we use them all the time now. How did you use your skill set to begin this kind of rise where then maybe even before you became a speaker, you kind of transferred that to your students? Like, how did that happen?
I teach AP psychology. So every day I get to teach about life. And then coaching varsity volleyball, I don't coach for wins. I coach to take these 13, 14-year-olds who come into my program and hopefully empower them and build them up. So when they do leave my program, they're these strong, confident females who can make decisions on their own, can walk with their head held high, their shoulders back, their chest out, and just be proud of who they are. And then the winning comes with it, but I just know that I have this platform. I have exposed to adolescents and they are still between ages of 14 to 18 years old. Why not be transparent about what I'm experiencing? Use what I have used on the volleyball court of my leadership skills and what has been effective for me and productive for me. And why not continue and opening up the eyes of all of these young students who are egocentric. They're so they have the ability to see other people's point of view. They're just choosing not to because of where they're at in their cognitive development. And so because I have a better understanding, especially of their EQ, their emotional intelligence, I can approach it at such different ways. And, learning about them and be able to connect with them on such different levels has just, empowered me to grow in my own journey, as well as hopefully inspiring them as well.
It's interesting because Mary Fran and I just interviewed somebody last week, or we were being interviewed, I forget, where we talked about, we go to service as our, both of us we're rooted in that when we have to take action, We take action first in service to somebody else. And I'm in a morning accountability group every Monday through Friday, every morning. And we were diving into that this morning, that same topic of, you know, when I started a nonprofit for the patient organization for my boy's blindness, I was a third grade teacher and I fully intended to be teacher of the year, right? I was like a Broadway show. You tell me now I got to go into science and all the stuff that wasn't my thing. But I had said this morning to my group, you know, I will move mountains for my kids. That's how I made such progress and got to the FDA so fast and all that. When I'm in service of others, I can see the outcome, the goal, and I am laser focused. It's my own self. Like when I was recovering from divorce, oh my gosh, it was an attorney that said to me, my first attorney said, Kristen, you need to be in service and advocating for yourself the way you do for your kids. I guess. So let's break this down, McKenna. You're a psychology teacher. Is that a women's thing? Is it an overachiever thing? What is that?
I think it's truly a women's thing that go through evolution, you know, like we talk about cavemen and cave women, right? How did males become this way and females become this way? Well, males are just, I hate to say it, but they are physically stronger than us. That's just how they're made. And so that's why they became the hunters. Whereas the females aren't as physically strong. So they have to stay back. They have to tend to the fire. They have to cook the meals, make the clothes, keep the children alive, which then created the nurturing aspect of us. And so through genetics, it has just that long-term potential. It has just been ingrained in us that we have to take care of others. And so when someone reaches out to us to say, I want to take care of you, I want to do this for you, you're like, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
We cannot accept, like, what is wrong with me? Yes, I want $1,000, but I can't. No, I'm good. Like, but that, I mean, I truly believe, like, you just watch little girls playing with baby dolls. I mean, it's the same thing. They instantly want to be nurturing, or their stuffed animals, whatever it may be. They want to be nurturing because of evolution. I never told my daughter, you have to hold your stuffed animals. They're watching mom and going through identification. They're watching mom and what mom is doing. And it's just this cycle. Yeah. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying it's bad, because we as women, we make this world go round. But we do have to step back and take care of us. And that's therapy for me, because I have to keep reminding myself that when someone wants to give you a compliment, when someone wants to do something for you, we have to say, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's it.
Right. And no, but after it, just thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And just accepting, because, you know, the whole thing that you're talking about with, I keep coming back to the idea of like transferable skills that we talk about all the time. But one of those transferable skills has to be allowing ourselves to receive the things that we want to give to everybody else. Yes. Like all the time, you know, you have to be open. And you talked about your vulnerability. And I think that's a huge part of not only of your own personal healing, but then being able to be of service to somebody else and be empathetic and figure that out. You have to start with feeling all that yourself. Did you experience that too?
Oh yeah. I mean, I've experienced every emotion possible. But you know, through this journey through my vulnerability and my transparency, and the journey of just being able to be as transparent as I have been, you know, just getting the feedback that I've received from my social media posts, from being in the classroom, has truly empowered me to continue sitting up straighter and, you know, walking around a little bit with my head held high a little bit more, being able to walk past the mirror and stop for a quick second and then continue going, instead of just walking directly past, of realizing that I'm having an impact on other people's lives. And that's what motivates me and what energizes me every damn day. And that's why I wake up so excited, because I know that my story can empower others. And if I can reach as many people as possible, I'm going to do it. And I'm not going to sleep until I do. And that's, you know, that's what I love about this.
You're such a powerful tool of being able to talk about identity, because you're so right about, I mean, Kristen and I are always talking about our hair. Yep. I mean, and you know, that's something that's just women take for granted. And when you lost that, it just completely turned your identity on your head. So it's a powerful tool.
And what's amazing is I remember, you know, when I lost my hair, I became so much consciously more aware of people talking about the hair. Like I just kept hearing it, like, and then, you know, eventually when I kind of became accepting, I remember girls sitting in my classroom right here talking about their bad hair day. I'll be like, hey, you think you're having a bad hair day? And they'll be like, and I'm like, guys, if you can't make light of situations, then life is going to be miserable.
Yeah.
And so literally, I'm not even, I'm in the middle of writing my book, and it's literally called Think You're Having a Bad Hair Day. It's all that's like, we have to have perspective. And what I've learned, you know, throughout life, and my daughter is 8, so she's starting to get into that age where you're starting to become a little bit more consciously aware of comparing yourself to other people, unfortunately, is that where and when were we ever told that our hair is our identity? Never did my mother say, your hair is your identity and this is who you're going to be. Mm-hmm. So when someone say, you know, define Mary Fran in 10 words, none of those words are going to be that she has beautiful hair and she has short hair and she, you know, none of it. It's going to be amazing adjectives, but yet we still throw in our hair. And so what I need and want to empower women, especially, is that our hair is not our identity. It is our character that defines us, because every word that I just used to describe Mary Fran is your character.
Yes. You know, this is so interesting because I've had this hair journey the past 4 years. When my divorce happened, it has been a nightmare 4 years. And I actually looked up alopecia because I do know some people that have it because it was coming out in clumps. Mm-hmm. Then I went to my thyroid doctor, which I thought, oh gosh, here we go. It's the thyroid, right? And she's like, no, everything came back. It was simply stress that made it all fall out. Mm-hmm. And then I went and got the temporary extensions because I have always been known for my long dark hair, right? So, and I remember when they spun me around in the chair and I saw myself again with my hair and I burst into tears, right? This is now, it's been a 4-year process of growing it back in because then those ruined the hair that I had left. It was like a mess, right? So then this expensive, lengthy process. So this new man in my life that is wonderful says to me the other day, I don't understand why the extensions. I said, because I needed to stay me and it's almost there. And I'm going through describing to this person the whole journey with it. And he was like, he's looking at me and he's just like, but you're not your hair. Like he didn't compute to him at all that. And I thought, oh my God. Right.
My husband said the same thing to me that first month. And he's like, McKenna, it's only hair. I wanted to punch him in the face. I did. You don't. And the funny thing is that he's bald. So,
what you know,
but that's the thing. Yeah. But that's the beautiful thing also is that he was able to still love me as, you know, me having strands of hair coming out of my head, you know, being able to, you know, him being able to still look at me and say he still sees beauty and still loves me and has gone through a whirlwind of 5 years of me being an emotional wreck. Mm-hmm. I mean, that speaks volume. But at that moment, I was repeatedly punching him in the face in my head because I'm like, it's more than hair. Like, you're not a woman. You don't understand. And it was really difficult. And it made me really upset with him. But that's the difference between males and females. Again, that's another thing to tack onto the board.
Yeah, but it's so funny that you say it that way with him because I was in a 20-year nightmare of you are never good enough. You are never good enough. You're never good enough. So if somebody were to say to me, like when this man says to me, oh my gosh, but you're like so much more than your hair. I was like, oh my God, like I waited 20 years for somebody to recognize something like that, you know?
But then here's another question. Would you have recognized that if you hadn't gone through the 20 years?
No.
And that's the thing, you know what I mean? Like we all, you know, as females, we don't realize because we take things for granted. You know, we need things in our lives to happen for us to open up our eyes and see the amazing possibilities that are in front of us. And for me, it took my hair falling out. For you, it took having a divorce. You know, we all experienced something.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Now I'm listening to you talk about that you got angry when he said, you know, it's just hair. Do you find that when people challenge what we think our identity is, even if it's not a good identity, that we still want to hang on to that. Like, why is that? And do you find that with your students that, but I am this, this is who I am. And even when it's not a good thing, we hang on to that. Like, why do we do it? And how do we get past that?
Ooh, that's a great question. I think, for me, I'd been working so hard I lost my hair when I was 33. I'd been working so hard to get to a good spot in my life. And I felt like I had finally gotten to a good spot because ironically, middle school years, I was made fun of every single day because of my hair, because it was so froey and so frizzy and people made fun of me all the time. And so I literally hated my hair and didn't fall in love with my hair until I was like 26, 27 years old. So I literally had a good 5-year run with my hair. But that's the thing, is that we work so hard and we just don't want to let go. And, it's but then are we able to consciously be aware of what our identity isn't good until something has to happen again for us to realize. It's just like, you look at past guys you dated and like, oh, what was I thinking? Yeah. We have to have that perspective.
Kind of a reckoning almost.
Yeah.
And we do have to let go of that. I mean, that was my biggest hang up when my boys were diagnosed as blind. I was not scheduled in my book to be a mom of blind kids or a mom of special needs kids or a mom of anything other than the starting quarterback and the starting pitcher.
Right.
Valedictorian, all of that. I'm like, this doesn't compute. Don't you know my kids went on to do all of those things, including valedictorian? I don't even know how they do half the stuff they do. And when you were saying you had a 3-year-old daughter that was watching, it was my 3-year-old son that changed my entire life by just saying, I have the greatest life, and I'm thinking, oh my God, you do. I'm the one that sucks. I was looking at it all wrong. And then, finally move forward and I had to do the same thing with the divorce. I was looking at it as, I was supposed to have a 50th wedding anniversary. So what in the hell? Like, that's not going to work now. Who cares? Right. Who says that when you got to get out of that mess, right? Who cares about those pictures of the 50th wedding anniversary when things are so much better now? But it's that looking at it, how you're actually looking at it is what really screws us all up.
And it's amazing that your son, when he was 3, was able to say that. And you know why he thinks he has a great life is because he looked at you and has you on a pedestal. And so we put so much weight on ourselves and so much pressure to be these perfect moms. I am by far not the perfect mom whatsoever, but you are a perfect mom in his eyes. And it's funny, my daughter, my youngest, who's never seen me with hair, said to me, this was when I was still wearing a wig. And I remember I got into the car and I ripped my wig off. They're sitting in the back because it was itchy, whatever. And she said to me, Mommy, I can't wait to be an adult and take my hair off too.
Oh my gosh.
And I literally stopped and I wanted to cry because that's how she sees it. She doesn't see it as being wrong. She doesn't see it as being ugly, nothing. I'm like, wow.
Yeah. It's just,
that's amazing. And we need that perspective sometimes, that innocence to bring us back to reality.
Yeah. My daughter, when she was 3, she thought, she's the youngest, she's sighted. She had a friend over and the friend saw my boy's Braille machine. And she's like, what is that? The girl has a ton of brothers. So my daughter's like, Mommy, call her mommy. Her brothers don't have Braille machines.
Oh, right.
You figured all brothers are blind. Her 2 brothers are blind. Everybody's blind. Why don't they have Braille? It's the greatest thing in the world. That's how you read and write, like as everybody else is like, me, when they were first diagnosed, I don't want to talk about Braille, and then there's my daughter. That's how you read. So why aren't we talking about it? It's uncanny how kids do have the perception that we should have, right? Yeah.
So I wanted to, when you told a story about the bad hair day, the kid having, and then her horrified reaction and all that to you. Do you find that you can, your experiences can transfer with these kids, or do you have to say to them, you have to kind of spell it out? Do you have to say to them, look, here's why I'm telling you this, or are they kind of aware enough? I'm kind of wondering, at what age do we become conscious enough to go, hey, that could apply to me?
Yeah, and it's funny because I actually had some freshmen on my varsity team. And so I've had a senior on my team who's been on my team for 4 years. So she knows me, she knows how I am. And I'm very sarcastic. And so when I made that comment to my senior, and my senior will always be like, Coach, stop it. But the freshman will just be like a deer in headlights.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I really think, there's a reason why, when the guidance counselors ask, do you want to allow sophomores to take your AP class? I said, no. Like there comes a time, it's almost not necessarily specifically saying you have to be 16 or 17 or 18 years old to take my class. It's almost being a junior or senior, because you are starting to get into a different mindset.
Okay.
Starting to think differently. Okay, now I'm getting closer to college, and now I'm thinking more about myself and what my goals are, and starting to be more receptive to other people's opinions and theories. And that's what we get to talk about in my class, are theories. You don't have to agree with them. I'm just asking you to have an open mind and know them for the AP exam in May. But I want you to have an open mind that, you know what, maybe something will spark something for you, and they're at a different place mentally. And so, for instance, I have one of my players who's in my AP class now, who's actually a grade ahead of hers. So she literally just turned 16 in November, where all of our other classmates are turning 17 or 18 years old. And she is by far maturity level above so many other people. So it's not necessarily specifically age. It's what you are surrounding yourself with. It's your experiences. But I think that just being able to say I'm a junior in high school versus a sophomore, there's a big difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, we talk about the whole brilliantly resilient concept and how it can apply to students, but I do think that there is a physiological component in terms of how their brains function and how they age and all that. And when these pieces start to fit in, so part of it is just showing up by example. And as they get older, they'll kind of absorb that. And then the other part of it is probably you got to spell it out for them sometimes.
Yep. And even the people who do understand, sometimes I still need stuff spelled out to me for sometimes, And I remember one of my players who's in my AP class right now, it was before a match. She's like, Coach, how do you have a good day every day? Like, well, how are you positive all the time? I said, because I've been able to reset my mindset. I've been able to reframe, like realizing what I do have control over, and they are making mountains out of molehills, what I used to do as well. I'm
I'm good at that. I'm still good at that. You want a mountain build? I'm your girl.
Yep, exactly. But I'm not making the Swiss Alps anymore.
There you go. We're just doing little hills.
Right. I'm making the landfills. I'm making the landfills.
Well, this has been an amazing conversation. So people need to know where they can find you, and you're writing a book. So tell us a little bit about that and where we can find you.
Yeah. You can find me on any social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, McKenna Reitz. It's REITZ. McKennaReitz.com to get in contact with me. I do offer a freebie. It's a 5-day reset your mindset challenge. Just something to be honest with yourself and be truthful. Just take 5 minutes at the beginning of the day. It's going to be emailed to you every morning, and just take 5 minutes and just going to force you to think about yourself. What we've been talking about. Take 5 minutes to yourself, so then we can have a more productive day. And my book is going to be coming out. Hopefully my goal is to be published in May. I have just been chosen as a TEDx speaker in Philadelphia. So I'll be giving a TEDx talk in April, and that will be released on May 22nd as well.
Nice. Double shot in May. And you have a podcast, right?
I'm sorry, what?
You have a podcast too?
I do have a podcast. It's called Challenge Yourself, Coaching and Leadership podcast. It is co-host with my husband, and our goal is to make sure that everyone understands that the definition of leadership and success is subjective, that you don't have to be assertive and aggressive to be a leader. And as leaders, we're always growing and learning. So it is open to high school students, to future entrepreneurs, to CEOs, to veterans in their field. And we interview different people in leadership styles and positions all over, and just have great conversations of their journey and how they have failed miserably and have succeeded and how they've grown because of it. And there's a common theme where we always ask, what's one piece of advice you have for someone who wants to work for you? And they say it has nothing to do with skill, it has everything to do with character. And that's what we want to really exemplify.
Awesome. I think that we're just going to have to do a part 2 in Philly in April when you're here.
Yes.
Now. So we'll do that. We'll do a quick check-in episode and cheer you on for that TED Talk.
Would love it.
Awesome. All right, everybody, go check out McKenna. I'm telling you, just go right through her Instagram feed and you're going to smile. You're going to smile nonstop. It is all great energy. Get in Clubhouse and look us up, follow us, and we'll have to do a conversation on Clubhouse too. We'll do
Let's do it.
That would be a good one. That would be
Okay, fine. Okay, I'll come.
Mary Brandon. All right, everybody, and make sure you go. We'll add the links to the Mindset Reset Challenge and the podcast in all of our stuff and share them with our Facebook community. If you're not in the Brilliantly Resilient Facebook community, what exactly are you doing with yourself every day? Get in that community. That's where you're going to find all of these strategies and information every day to constantly reset, rise, and reveal your brilliance. Find the rest of our stuff at brilliantlyresilient.net, and we will see you next time.